One of the happiest days of your life is your wedding day. The gathering of family, friends, beautiful venue you and your fiancé will pick out, the cake, the flowers. But most importantly, your significant other, the person you will be vowing to spend the rest of your life with through sickness and health. George Sand once said, "There is only one happiness in life, to love and be loved." So why is it that in most states, the only people who can get married are a man and a woman? How is it fair that two men or two women can't get married in this great state of Texas, or many others? Out of all 50 states, about 6 allow same-sex marriage. An article by Ron Johnson at About.com, he talks in depth about the Federal Act DAMA, which was passed in 1996. The Federal Defense of Marriage Act, DAMA, of 1996, which denies federal recognition of gay marriages and gives each state the right to refuse recognition of same-sex marriage license issued by other states. The act does not prohibit states from allowing gay marriages, neither does it obligate states to recognize gay marriage from other states. In a nutshell, the government is essentially saying that it's not necessarily making gay marriage illegal, but it's not going to legalize it, that it's going to give every state its own option on if it wants to allow a couple who loves each other to be married. That in itself, to me, seems a little unconstitutional, because in the Articles of Confederation, Article 4, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution contains what is known as the Full Faith and Credit Clause. This clause requires all states in the U.S. to recognize and give effect to the legislation, public records, and judicial decisions of each state in the U.S. It requires a state to recognize a document issued by another state as legal. So your driver's license, for example. Your Texas driver's license, if you get pulled over in Louisiana, they're still going to consider it a driver's license. You don't have to go to the DPS office in Louisiana and get issued a Louisiana driver's license. Your Texan driver's license is going to be okay. Or if a couple is married in Kansas, then moving to Texas won't discredit that marriage. But if two men marry in California, they can't move to Texas because Texas won't recognize it as a union. In January 2012, at a Fox News debate, Mitt Romney said that he believes that we should provide equal rights to people regardless of their sexual orientation, except if you're gay. He does not believe that marriage should be between a man or two people of the same sex. How does that make sense? Most arguments, well, pretty much every argument I've ever heard against gay marriage is one of religion. We had separation of state and church. It's in the Constitution to separate your political views from your religious views. That's not something we have so much anymore because every argument about gay marriage is one of religion. Why it's not religiously correct to have a same-sex marriage. It's understandable to not agree with same-sex marriage, but the first step in giving everybody an equal chance of happiness is to go back to that separation of church and state. Back to when, like I said, your political views and your religious views were separate. In 2011, Roy McDonald was quoted saying, "You get to the point where you evolve in your life where everything isn't black and white, good and bad, and you try to do the right thing. You might not like it." He went on to vote for same-sex marriage in New York, which is one of the 6 states that allows it. Getting that separation might not be that easy to do, but the first steps that you can take is to register to vote. Not just the presidential election is important. Things like your state representatives and your senators are also critical points in getting your say across. So go out and vote on what you're passionate about. Allowing two people who love each other to marry, regardless of their sex, is what's right. And marrying the person you love is a right that you have, but you only have that right to a certain extent. You may marry the person you love as long as they're of an opposite sex. Anything else and it might not be recognized in all states, which means that you would have to alter how you live your life just so your marriage to the person you love can be legalized. And it's most important to remember that the important thing is not the object of love, but the emotion of it. And that was said by Gore Vidal.
What states can you get married in as same-sex couples?
No, only 6 states that you can legally get married in are Connecticut, Iowa, New Hampshire, New York, Vermont, and Massachusetts, and the District of Columbia, but that's not really a state, but it is legal there.
Why do you think they discriminate against same-sex couples?
Honestly, because being gay in the Bible isn't acceptable. Well, it's not that it's not acceptable. It's just that God doesn't think that you should lie with a man like you would your wife. So essentially, he doesn't think the gay life, I guess, is the way that it's supposed to be. But he also does say that everybody's flawed and people are going to make mistakes. But every argument I've ever heard about same-sex marriage is one of religion. So it's only a religious matter that I've ever heard of on why it's discriminated against.
Do you have any friends that are gay?
I do, actually. I have 4, I think. One of my bosses at work, he's a really good friend of mine. He's gay, and I know him and his boyfriend. And then one of my other coworkers who used to work with me, he's gay, and I know him and his boyfriend, and I love them. They're the best people. I chose this topic because it's something that I'm very for. I'm very much for gay marriage. I don't see why it shouldn't be allowed. Like I said, I have friends that are gay, and they're very much in love, probably more so in love than I've ever seen a man and a woman. And in Texas, they can't get married, and it's just, that's not right to me. So I want to educate other people on the fact that there's nothing in the Constitution that says they can't, and there's actually things in the Constitution that would prohibit them, that would prohibit states from, like, I don't understand. Well, there's nothing that specifies that they shouldn't have the same rights. It's more of everybody's religious views. So I want to get people to understand that they shouldn't have their religious views intersect with their political views, and that something like this shouldn't be illegal because of the way they feel about it religiously rather than politically.
Have you ever gotten in any arguments with people who didn't believe it was right for gay marriage to be legal?
I actually have not. I try not to voice too much of opinions because I'm not very, I'm not one to like have confrontation with people, so I actually don't debate, I guess. I've never gotten into a altercation or any like debate with anybody on why it should be legal, why it shouldn't be legal, but most of my friends do know how I stand on it. They do know the ways I feel, so I guess that's about as much of an altercation I've ever had about this.
So what do you think of celebrity gay couples?
I love them. Like, I kind of think they're not really role models, but they're kind of an inspiration for other people because they aren't afraid to tell people, yes, I'm gay, or yes, I'm a lesbian, whatever they are. They're not afraid to come out to the media and say it, and it kind of gives hope to any gay fans that they might have that, yes, it's okay, like, see, look, I'm gay, like, nobody's gonna judge me for it. Like, I just kind of feel like that might be how they think. Like,
I know this may be off topic, but do you think Katy Perry and Lady Gaga are good role models for the gay community as well?
I do. I don't really like Lady Gaga very much, but that's for a whole different reason. But I very much do think that they are inspiration, role models, people to look up to because they aren't afraid to speak about how they feel. They are very public about everything that they're for and against. I know Lady Gaga has like bullying programs that she started to help people who are bullied, and most people who are bullied because they're gay or because they're different, and she's always one that's been different. So I do think that they are good role models and inspirations for anybody who's different than you or me.